Okay, so I'm just going to give you a quick how-to for getting started with EdPuzzle. The video that I'm using for the EdPuzzle training is what I'm going to be working with today. So what you are going to do is come up with the content that you want. So I'm under content right now, and the video I want is from YouTube, and I'm just going to paste the URL for the video that I want. This particular video is for this guy who's doing it, and there's extra information in there that I just don't feel like is necessary, so I am going to crop the video. EdPuzzle actually suggests a 10-minute time limit for videos. It doesn't always work that way for my classroom particularly, but they want small chunks. It doesn't have to be small chunks, but that's what they say is best. So this is where I want to crop it down to. So I'm going to say save it because it's going to save where I've got it cropped here. And they titled it for me, EdPuzzle Tutorial, because that's what the name of this video was, but I can call it anything I want. So I'm going to say for EdTech Camp 2019. Okay. So then you have different options for these videos on what you want to do to it. You can do voiceovers. So that if you do a voiceover, basically what you're doing is you're playing a video and you are going to speak over the entire thing. Okay. So why record a voiceover? Explain a concept the way you would in class. And it says you have to do it over the whole video. So something new that they've done this year is add audio notes. So you can just give a little call out. Maybe they use a different word for cross multiplication than what you do, or another, I don't know, something like that. You can just put a little voiceover and say, this is actually what we would call cross multiplying, whatever. So quizzes. The quizzes allow you to get some formative assessment in. So these quizzes go in my videos as a way to assess how well they're paying attention and whether or not they know what they're doing. So sometimes I include video or questions just as a step-by-step process. If they're learning something that's totally new and it's a long, drawn-out problem, I'll have the video show an example of how to do it, and then the next one, I will have a step-by-step quiz that goes in there. So step one, what do we need to do to the equation first? Or what can be moved to the other side of the equation? Or what must be moved? Or what value do we plot first on the graph? Things like that. So I'm just going to scan through here and decide where I want to put my first quiz question. Okay, so this would be a good point to explain a little more to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert an audio note. And I'm going to say, you can sign up as a teacher or a student using the same Gmail account. So through your school Gmail, you can sign up as either one. EdPuzzle offers some really cool professional development type materials, and their coach badges that you can earn. You have to be signed up as a student to enter those classes. So for the purpose of a training such as today, I would have you sign up as a student, which is what you did. For you to create your own, though, you'll need to sign up as a teacher, but both of them can be through your Google account. Okay, so I'm just gonna, once I'm done and I'm happy with that, so if I wasn't happy with it, I could delete it. But to just hear it back, I just click on it and it starts playing. Okay, so this little notification here tells me that I've put in a little audio note, and that whenever the students get to that point, they will listen to it. Okay, so I could add a question if I wanted to, but I'm not ready to do that yet. So I decided I want to put in a question here. So I just hit the little question mark, and it opens up this bubble over here for me. And over here I have the option to if I just type a question here, it's like I'm just making a text note. So sometimes I will type something in here that says something like, don't forget to do it to both sides, or something like that. Or I'll give them a hint for finishing the problem on their own, like hint, don't forget to convert before solving, things of that nature. So if I don't choose one of these two, it's not going to give them any place to answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a multiple choice. Now, on the multiple choice, I can have multiple correct answers, but it's not like a Google form where you have multiple correct answers and they have to choose each one. They still only have the option to choose one answer. So maybe there are multiple ways that they could have an equivalent answer, and you're willing to accept those, and you would take any of them, that would be fine. But I typically just do one correct answer just to make things simple. So what I'm going to say here is okay, so to get more, I can just add an answer and it's going to open up more for me. But if I accidentally open too many, I just hit the little X and it goes away. I do have the option for some math print. This is just a quick superscript, subscript, but I can also do equations. I can do images, or I could insert a link. Also with that question, so say I am done with it, but I actually want to add something to it. If I just click on this question mark, it's going to give me the option to go right back to it, and I can edit it from here. Now, if I do this, say there were 2 questions I wanted to ask here. So I said, how many ways can you create a new class in EdPuzzle? You can either manually do it, or you can do it straight from Google Classroom. So if I wanted to have 2 questions here, I could add something else, and here I would say, what method would be easiest for you? Okay, so now they're going to have 2 questions. So I only see, I see both of them, I guess. Yeah, this one is the question, this one is a comment. But I said the wrong thing earlier. So they're going to have like an open-ended, they can type in an answer here. This one is multiple choice, and this is if you're just wanting to give a hint. I apologize. It's been a few months since I've assigned an EdPuzzle. So then I can continue, and the video is going to continue for me. So another feature of EdPuzzle is that they set it so that they have to be in the tab active for it to play. So even for me, working on creating one, if I go out of it, it automatically stops it for me. So if kids are trying to multitask, they can't have 2 tabs open and still get their EdPuzzle done. Okay, so I'm going to add another question. So I just hit the little checkbox, and I'm going to say, and another thing is that when you type in these questions, your answers, the first one's marked as correct. It's not always the first answer, okay? So the first answer is the correct answer is how I have it marked, but it'll mix these up every time, so you don't have to worry about doing that, okay? The other thing that I was going to show you, so I'm going to save this one, was at this one, I was going to provide some feedback on these answers. So which method would be easiest for, oh, I didn't want to change that, sorry. This one, I'm going to go, okay, so that's a good way to make a mistake, is I want it to be a question that they're going to answer, but I was wanting to go to the other question, so I accidentally hit like a move over, and it switched the type of question. So you really need to be careful that you don't do that. I want to go to the first question I wanted, which is how many ways can you create a new class? So I'm going to just provide some feedback that says correct on that one. But on both of these, I'm going to say that the 2 ways are so I wouldn't even have to say correct here, because they're obviously going to know that it's correct. But if I want to go back and change what it says, I just hit the little switch here. So I do this a lot with math problems, and I tell them, like, if there's an option that is because they made a specific mistake, like you forgot your negative or you forgot to flip the sign, things like that, that's what I put in there. All right. So I can skip ahead to wherever I want to go. I'm going to continue. Okay, so this would be a good point for me to do a little audio note again. And I'm just going to say that changing their name might be helpful for your gradebook because sometimes their Gmail account doesn't match what's in the gradebook. So I didn't even know that was possible until I watched this video. So I'm just going to go ahead and let my people know that are watching. Okay, so I'm going to go back to quizzes. Again, another audio note here, because you could have classes created and then connect them after the fact to your Google Classroom, which is a nice feature as well. If you're working on this today before you have kids, you can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to let those watching this know. So once you're done, all you have to do is hit finish, and it's going to give you the option to choose who you're going to assign it to. So I'm going to assign it to my EdPuzzle 101 class, or if I haven't created the class yet, I could create it right now. I can change the start date and the due date. So for EdCamp, we're going to start this one at 8 o'clock and be done by 8:45. So I'm just going to set those as my times. So I'm going to say tomorrow we start at 8 o'clock in the morning for this session. So I'm going to save that one. And then the due date, there we go. Okay. And then I always prevent skipping. Okay, I do that because I want them to watch the whole thing because they'll be lazy if I don't. You can turn on closed captions. I don't know how good of quality these are. I've never done that. And then post on Google Classroom, which is what I normally do, but this class isn't assigned to a Google Classroom. So if I chose one of these, I would have that option to post to Google Classroom. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. This class is from last year, so it's, well, actually it's archived, so it probably won't work, but we'll see what happens here. Okay, so it tells me that there was an error. I was expecting that. So what I can do at this point is I can edit the name. I can look at the responses for each question, or I can look at it by student to see their overall score. This is where I would go to reset progress if Rachel did really bad and I wanted to try it again, right there. Go live is new, so I honestly am not sure what that one does for you. The way that I want to share the assignment, I can get a public link, or I can embed it into a website if you're fancy. I'm guessing that most of us probably aren't. So this is if I wanted to just share this link out, I could do that. I can reset all student progress. I could download their grades, which we'll look at the gradebook here in a second, or I could just delete the assignment altogether. So in the gradebook, this is for EdPuzzle 101, which I don't have any grades in here because I deleted the old stuff from last year whenever we were doing this. But if I go to my 4th hour class, let's say, oh man, oh, because it's the date. So I have the start date to the due date. I can change this based on what period of time I'm looking at. So I can look at it for the whole school year. Okay, so from August 15th of last year to today, I can look at that. So save it. And nothing is probably, oh, it did pull. I didn't know if it would because I've archived these classes already. So I can see how this class does. I have some regulars there not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then you can also see as time goes on about where I started offering some incentive, which was right around in this range. Okay, so at that point, scores started doing better. Sad but true. So I can export the gradebook if I want to, which obviously one click, it automatically goes to an Excel file for me. I can, again, change how I view each of those things. I could go into each lesson from here and to see how they did. I can look at it by question. So on this one, I had 4 out of 6 get the first question right. It tells me at what time it's at in the video. Okay, so I can go through and look at each individual question. 3 out of 6, 4 out of 6, 3 out of 6, 5 out of 6. EdPuzzle automatically sets 80 as the green, just so you know. So I can go through it that way. So if I go to classes, so my classes are all over here along the side. I have one student in 4th hour that apparently did something after the fact. So if I grade these 3 answers, okay, so I can go through and say, I have no idea what these are, but I can go through and give points based on each of these answers.